Mrs. Greer here with another read aloud. Today we're going to be reading Apples by Gail Gibbons. So we've been learning a lot about apples this week because we're getting ready to learn about trees. I want you to take a look at this front cover and talk to me. What do you see? Of course you see apples. What color apples do you see? Red and yellow. Yes? One that looks a little green. Yeah. So definitely apples come in different colors, right? We learned they can come in green, they can come in yellow, they can come in red, and sometimes they can come in two colors, kind of like what we see on our front cover here. Remember, apples grow from a very small seed, okay? And we plant that in the ground and we get a little seedling, which is a little tree. And then there's blossoms that grow, the little flowers. Some of our friends say they look like flowers that grow on the tree where the apples are growing, stay on the tree. And then from there, I believe that's when you start to see those trees get bigger and bigger, right? And it's getting bigger and bigger because it's filling up with so many delicious apples that we can eat. So when you go to the farmer, where the place the farmers live, you can go to the farm or you can go, to the apple orchard. You can find apples there. You can pick them to eat. You can cook. You can do so many different things there. All right. So before we get started, I want you to take a look. I'm going to go over the parts of the book one more time. What cover is this? Front cover. What cover is this? Back cover. And what do we call this part of the book? The spine. Yes, it holds it all together. Who writes the stories? You? Me? Yeah, we could be authors. Yes, authors. And who draws the pictures? Illustrators. Tisha Graham. Good job. All right, here we go. Let's read the story Apples. An apple is a fruit. It grows on an apple tree. Apple trees grow in more parts of the world than any other fruit tree. They have been in existence for about 2 million years. I don't think we have enough fingers to count 2 million years. That's a super long time. The first American colonists brought apple seeds and seedlings with them from England. So just what the little girl is holding and maybe her mommy, they're holding what is called a seedling, which is a very young, small tree. Many times during the early 1800s, John Chapman traveled throughout the wilderness of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Indiana, planting apple trees. Also, he gave seeds and seedlings to the settlers there. He became known as Johnny Appleseed. Nowadays, some apples are grown at home and some are grown commercially. So you can find apples where? Where are some places can you find apples? The farm, the grocery store, Walmart, Target. Yes, all those different places. The farmer's market where they have a lot of fruits and vegetables. Yes, you can definitely find that there. Each year, about 250 million bushels of apples are grown in the United States, and about 28 million bushels are grown in Canada. An apple is a firm, crispy, fleshy fruit with a hard center called the what? Core. The core has 5 seed chambers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is where the chambers are. This is where the core is, right in that middle. Remember, that brown hardish part is the stem, and what's attached to that stem that's green? The leaf. Good. In the springtime, flowers called apple blossoms begin to bloom on the apple trees. Each blossom has to be pollinated in order for an apple to grow. The blossoms are usually pollinated by insects or by the wind. And remember, when we learned pollination often happens with insects that kind of look like this one. And what's that insect called? A bee. Yes, a bee. capture sunlight, which helps the tree to grow. After a while, the blossoms begin to die and the apples start to grow. Throughout the warm summer, the little apples grow bigger. During the late summer or early fall, the apples ripen. And as they become ripened, that means that they're almost time or they are ready to eat. So sometimes you have to give those apples and other fruit time to just sit a little. They're kind of cooking so they can get ready to be eaten by you and your family. When the trees are loaded with ripe apples, it is harvest time. Workers pick the apples by hand. So those farmer markets and even on the farm, they put the apples in barrels, which are these, and they sort them by the color or by the type of apple. Some are shipped to stores, some are used to make apple juice, yum, apple cider, apple jelly, apple sauce, and lots of other apple products. Do you have apple products at home? Why don't you take a look after I read aloud to find out what do you have at home that's made from apples? Some are sold in baskets at roadside stands. So those are those farmer markets. During the fall, it is fun to go apple picking. Also, there are country fairs. Awards are given to the best looking apples, the best tasting apple pies, and the most delicious applesauce. There's apple cider too. During Halloween, there are caramel apples and candy apples. Some people bob for apples. Remember when we read the story, Bad Apple? Remember, Mac was bobbing in the water? That means he was just laying in the water, bobbing. When winter arrives, the apple tree branches become bare. The trees will become dormant until the next spring. So, dormant means that nothing is growing during this time, okay? But when the springtime comes, they'll start to grow again. When the trees will produce a new crop of apples right in the springtime. And here is a look at some of our apples. So we have so many different kinds. Take a look. And that is the end. So what I want you to do is I want you to take the time to think about what is something that you learned from the story Apples today. There's quite a bit that we uncovered. And I want you to remember that each year in the springtime, apples grow, and then in the wintertime, they don't grow. They're dormant. So these seeds only good for a certain period of time. They don't last too long, but when they do, man, they're delicious. All right, until next time, friends. See you soon.